Hello class, this is lesson 5-1 in your textbook about roots. And a square root, what I want you to think of is what number can you multiply by itself to get a specified amount. Now this symbol right here is called the radical symbol. You've probably seen it on your calculator. And so today we're going to use that symbol to find the square root of a number. So the square root of 25 is pretty easy, right? It's 5. 5 times 5 gives you 25. But it could also be negative 5. Negative 5 times negative 5 is also positive 25. So the condensed way is this symbol plus or minus 5. So let's do another one. The square root of 100, or radical 100, is going to be plus or minus 10. Easy, all right? Now here's another one. The square root of 324. This is probably something that many of you don't know by heart, but it's going to be plus or minus 18. So what I think would help in this lesson is if you memorized most of the perfect squares. So here's a list of the first 25 of them. Let's go ahead and do them. 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25, 6 squared is 36, 7 squared is 49, 8 squared is 64, 9 squared is 81, 10 squared is 100, 11 squared is 121, 12 squared is 144, 13 squared is 169, 14 squared is 196, 15 squared is 225, 16 squared is 256, 17 squared is 289, 18 squared is 324, 19 squared is 361, and 20 squared is 400. 21 squared is 441, 22 squared is 484, 23 squared is 529, 24 squared is 576, and 25 squared is 625. So in this section, you're also going to come across finding the square root of decimals and fractions. So when you see the square root of 1.44, just think of it without the decimal, 144, which you know the square root of that is 12. So this is going to be plus or minus 1.2 instead of plus or minus 12. Let's go on to the square root of 0.25. Again, think of it without the decimal. Square root of 25 is 5. So this is going to be the plus or minus 0.5. Let me add that in there. Easy. So now for fractions, if I have the square root of 9/16, I'm going to separate it as just the square root of 9 over the square root of 16. And then it's a lot easier to see. Well, the square root of 9 is plus or minus 3. Square root of 16 is plus or minus 4. So plus or minus 3/4 is my answer. Let's do the same thing. Square root of 100 over square root of 256 leaves me with plus or minus 10 over 16. But that could still be simplified, so this is going to be plus or minus 5 over 8. And that's going to be my answer. So now we're going to transition to a cube root, which is very similar to a square root. And this time I want you to think, what number can you multiply by itself 3 times, not 2 times, but 3 times, to get a specified amount? Okay, so again, it's very similar, but we're looking for a number times itself again. And the symbol looks just like the square root symbol, but it has a 3 on the outside, indicating that we're looking for the cube root. So let's remind ourselves, 1 cubed is 1 times 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. 4 cubed is 4 times 4 times 4, which is 64. And 5 cubed is 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. And our list could go on, but that'll help us for right now. So let's go ahead and do our first example where we're going to look at the cube root of 125. And since I already have this over here on my list on the right, I know that the cube root of 125 is in fact 5. All right, for my next example, let's go ahead and find the cube root of negative 27. Well, this would be negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, so negative 3 is my answer. Finally, let's go ahead and find the cube root of 1,000 divided by 512. Well, that's the same as 10 times 10 times 10 on the top and 8 times 8 times 8 on the bottom. So this would leave me with the fraction 10/8 or the reduced fraction as 5/4. And there we go. So to conclude, I have 3 problems for us, beginning with x squared is equal to 121. To solve, let's take the square root of both sides. And I know that the square root of 121 is plus or minus 11. And that's all you have to do to solve equations like this. Let's look at our next example. We have y squared is equal to negative 16. So I can take the square root of both sides, but there is not any number times itself to equal negative 16, so I would say no solution. For our final problem, I have z cubed is equal to negative 125. So I can take the cube root of both sides, and I find that z is equal to negative 5, and I'm done. So that's it for this lesson. I hope that it made sense, and let me know if you have any questions when you come into class.